Curling now enters the Sports Weekend spotlight.
Good evening and hi again, curling fans across Canada and around the world. And good evening to you, Colleen. We have a lot to get to tonight, don't we?
We were talking yesterday about sort of the roller coaster ride and the few of, Canada getting into the Olympic spot, just by the skin of their teeth. And we were really, of course, so anticipating this next round of playoffs to be the time for Canada and Kerri Einarson to shine. And what can you say, except Sweden's Anna Hasselborg was on fire. So it doesn't take a lot when you're just a tiny bit off against Anna, who is just making absolutely everything.
We talked about it last night. We'll talk about it again tonight, and we'll be joined by Canadian skipper Kerri Einarson in a second. But a remarkable run just to get into that Olympic spot, and then you run into that Swedish juggernaut on the ice this morning. Like you said, Colleen, a big shot. I felt late in the game when Canada had something going. It was a completely different game if Hasselborg, as you tweeted about, made it look easy, that run back. But Canada was right there late in the game.
Well, I mean, when Hasselborg's dialed in, and we've seen it from her in the past with those run backs and incredible shooting that she's capable of, that we didn't necessarily see it from her during the slow start in the Grand Slams with the first one, and then things shaken off the rust in the second one. But there was absolutely no rust on her today. So that's tough. And I know I sound like a broken record when I say the parity in the women's game is just a really beautiful thing to see, that all of the countries are playing so well. We now know, of course, Switzerland is into the gold medal game as Sweden plays RCS. So, I mean, who would you pick in those three? All three are playing amazingly well.
Right, and it was just seconds ago, literally, before we came on the air. In fact, we didn't even know if we should go live. That's we're doing it live. That Switzerland defeated the USA 7-3. So United States into the bronze medal game. The defending women's world curling champions from Switzerland into the championship game yet again. Let's get into it right off the bat, because like we said, you can see the lineup tonight. We didn't even get Kerri's name on the bottom because this late edition. But let's bring.
We'll lead with her.
Yeah, let's bring in Canadian skip Kerri Einarson. Kerri, it's great to see you. It's over for now before you get on a plane to Scotland. But just sum up what this journey has been like for you.
Oh, it's been an absolute amazing few weeks here in the bubble. We're so honored to be able to represent Canada and wear that maple leaf with pride, and we really enjoyed it, and we learned so much along the way, and we will definitely take that going forward into our next events.
I can imagine you did learn a lot along the way, because my heavens, between the roller coaster ride of this event, your Scotties, where you just looked like nothing was ever going to stop you, and of course the Players' Championship. And let me not forget the Canadian mixed doubles. But what were the most important lessons? And I know it's really hard on the same day, and we thank you so much for coming and talking to your fans too. But what were your most important lessons that you learned from these worlds, your first?
Definitely going out there and just being yourselves. I know wearing the maple leaf on your back is heavy, but we got to remember we're still Team Einarson, and we got to play for ourselves too. So we did what we could do, and we gave it our all every single game, and we dug deep, and I'm so very proud of that, and grateful for my teammates for sticking with me. I may have struggled a little bit in a few games, and just on the wrong side of the inch, but they held in there with me, and I'm so grateful for them.
Kerri, I listened to the post-game press conference. Sorry I didn't get the chance to join it and ask you after the game earlier today. But you said that you didn't feel like there was a fatigue or a burnout. You played so many events. There's a lot of chatter on social media that I've been seeing about whether you might have done things differently. Were the 2 Grand Slams a lot? Was this too much? I'll put that to you and let you answer. How do you think you managed all of these events?
I thought we did an amazing job. I think playing in those slams, we needed that. We needed that ice time to get in some throws because we didn't have any ice back home. And just being in a bubble is hard emotionally and physically. But I thought we handled it really well. And going into that game today, honestly, that was the most confident I've felt. And I just had such a good feeling. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So it was unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we move forward.
Well, first off, let's not forget you've got that Olympic spot for whichever Canadian team wins the trials. What do you take from this experience going into the Olympic trials? And how do you sort of manage expectations and all of those other things as you try now to get to what I always joke is the biggest, not joke, it's the biggest show in town, the Olympics.
It'll definitely be my very first trials too, and ours as a team. So having this as our first real test of being at the world stage, that is definitely going to help us moving forward. It helps us grow as individuals and as a team. So all the experiences that we learned in here about ourselves and our teammates, we're gritty. We fight, and we're so determined out there, and we just never ever give up. And we'll definitely learn to not dig ourselves too deep because it's a hard fought battle to get out of that. Yeah, we'll just carry everything we learned going into here and are going into the trials, and just go out there and really enjoy the moment and be ourselves out there just like we do for any other event.
Kerri, what did you guys talk about? I'm imagining you probably had a debrief as a team after this. What did you talk about after today's game?
We didn't debrief too much about it, just because it was still very fresh. And so we're going to give ourselves a little bit to just kind of talk it over, or just debrief with ourselves, write down some thoughts. And then once I get back from mixed doubles, we will debrief the whole event, just because things are a little raw right now. So we don't want to dig anything, say anything, whatever, we just want to take the moment to just figure out what we need and do our thing. So, but we're still so proud of ourselves. So we can't be too hard on ourselves.
No, as you should be. What about the world mixed doubles now? Because there's no rest for the wicket here. You're the wicket. Yep. And you got to keep going.
I know. I thought, well, maybe I could quickly fly home and just give my girls a quick kiss and then fly back to Calgary. But I think that would just make things a little more difficult on myself and my girls. So I'll just stay here and just do some more FaceTiming and that type of thing. But now I got to switch gears and go have some fun playing mixed doubles with Brad.
Kerri, how much time have you had with your daughters since February 12th? Is it what? It's 9 days? I lost track, but you would know better than me. How much time have you had with your girls? And give us that human toll perspective, because you have sacrificed a great deal, not only for your family, but the people you work with that I know mean so much to you.
Well, I haven't been at work since February 11th. And that's been a long time. And I know my residents miss me. But like in between events, like after the Scotties, I got to go home and I got to see my family. So that really was good. Because if I wouldn't be able to see my daughters, my husband, that would make things extremely difficult on me. So luckily enough, I got to see them through that. And then I haven't seen them in it's been a while. I got 20 more days till I get to see them.
Yeah. When you talk to your mom and the kids and your hubby, what did they tell you to remind you to keep your chin up?
Just keep doing what you're doing in there and just give it your all. Like my parents and my girls and my husband, they all got my back, and they know that I'm chasing my dreams, and they support me in every way possible. So they just take these next couple days to just relax before flying over to Scotland, and again, putting on that maple leaf and wearing it with pride, because I'm super excited to be able to have that opportunity to do that again.
Well, Kerri, let me finish by saying that I think there's a lot more than just your family across this entire country who have your back. Incredible poise and grace under pressure that you have shown. You get to do it again across the pond in Scotland. So I think I speak on behalf of many, many Canadians. Go do us proud like you have done so well, and keep your chin up. You did great.
Thank you, Devin. Thank you, Colleen.
You're welcome. And thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you all of Canada for supporting us. We've gotten so many amazing messages, and it just fills my heart with joy to see all that, because it's truly amazing, and it helps us become even better. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kerri. Take care. Get some rest. We'll be watching.
Bye.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was such an incredible bubble time for her in Calgary, between the Players' Championship and the mixed doubles and the Scotties. And she was in that bubble for a very long time, longer than anybody else that's at the World Championships, even though she got that little break home. And, you know, they were so great in winning that last Grand Slam. And if you could flip that now, you know, but you can't, can you?
And here's what I'll say, Colleen, because as journalists, we sometimes have to ask tough questions. Let it be known that Kerri Einarson didn't have to come on the show tonight. And like you said, she showed up. She was here. She's answered every question of the media under very tough circumstances. And I think it says a lot about the type of person she is to show up and be on the show and answer our questions tonight.
Well, yeah, and curlers generally are used to that. It's funny how Chelsea Carey was talking about now it's a Zoom conference, and you don't get the same energy from the curlers when it's on a Zoom. They go into almost a hockey player cliche mode rather than the way you're used to conversing with them.
Right. And
so Kerri's always pretty real, no matter when she's on. She wears her heart on her sleeve.
Yep.
And that's been one of the refreshing things about having Kerri take the center stage and in the women's game in Canada right now.
And someone who knows just how good she is, who has a front seat to all of it, Mr. Brad Gushue, who joins us now and who will be getting ready and has been in quarantine. Brad, what day of quarantine is it for you, and how many more do you have?
I have no idea. I think it's day 12 right now. We actually leave tomorrow to go to Scotland, so I'm going to be leaving here before I finish my quarantine and then starting another 7-day quarantine over in Scotland. So it's going to be around 21 days, I think, straight before we start competing over in Scotland. And then when I get home, I have 3 days in Montreal and then another 14 days when I get back here in Newfoundland. So
wow. Okay,
yeah.
What is the secret? Because, of course, as you know, Nova Scotia's just entered another lockdown. What are your secrets? Are you just do your homework? I mean, because are you in your house and your family's upstairs, or?
Yeah, it's a challenge really to find the time. I think the choice of me doing my MBA at this time has been a real blessing for me. It's kept me busy, but other than that, it gets boring. But it's not even the boring part; it's the loneliness part that it becomes a challenge. Like I haven't really been able to go hang out with my mother, my father, my sister, my friends. All of that has been on hold. I really haven't seen them since January, really, because we went into lockdown in February, and then we entered the bubble towards the third week in February, and have been in either a bubble or quarantine state ever since.
Yeah. So you haven't practiced while you're, or are you able to go and throw some rocks, or is there even still ice left?
Yeah. So there is ice here in St. John's, and fortunately, public health gave me permission to go down and practice. I'm the only one in the curling club, so I've been going early mornings before the club opens, and our manager basically opens the door, and leaves, and I'm there by myself. So, and when I go, he tells me to lock the door. So
Nice.
It's been really good that I've been able to throw and kind of keep my legs in curling shape, because at 40, it's a little harder to do that after a few weeks off, especially this late in the season.
Yeah,
All right,
you'll be happy to know the Mayflower Curling Club is now a testing site. So
Yeah, I've heard.
But the banners and Mark Dacey's banners are still there, but it's a lot of swabs up the nose, something you probably know a lot of.
I've gotten a lot. I would think when this is all said and done, I'm probably going to be 30 plus tests. So I'm getting used to it as much as you can get used to it.
Right.
It's not comfortable.
Brad, we just heard from Kerri. I don't know how much, I'm guessing you were following, because we all were. What do you make of what they did, the resilience they showed? You know better than anyone the way to the Maple Leaf. It was a tough week for them. Just some thoughts from you on that.
Yeah, I think I messaged Kerri today, and I just said the thing that impressed me the most was kind of the grit that they showed. They got off to a rough start, and it wasn't necessarily that they played bad. They had a couple rough eighth ends really in the first few games against some really good teams, and kind of got behind the eight ball at 1-3 or 1-2, whatever it was. And then I've been in that situation, and sometimes doubts start to creep in, and you get another skip that plays tough against you. All of a sudden you're 1-4 and then 1-5. And for them to really come back and get themselves into the playoffs, I think is a true credit to the grit that team has. But that takes its toll as it gets later in the week, when you have to play do or die games each and every game. Mm-hmm. And then you get into the playoffs, you can run out of gas, and you may not feel that physically, but it does take its toll for sure.
Right.
And what can you say about the competition? I mean, Anna Hasselborg was the whole team was great today.
Yeah.
As you can expect from Sweden. And it doesn't take just to be that one miss here and there. Classic strategy, though, was it not? Just hammer, they scored 2 every time, and we hold them to 1. That's hard to do.
Jeff Thomas, used to preach that to us when we were juniors, and even early in our men's career, just 2-1, 2-1. Don't go for those threes. So they executed that very well. But people across the country really have to realize how good everybody else in the world is, and part of the pressure of wearing the Maple Leaf is that you've witnessed for all of our lives Canada going to Worlds and getting a medal or winning championships. And I heard today that this is the first time we haven't got one. And it's bound to happen with how good everybody's getting. But, that adds to the pressure and the expectations when you go in there. And I don't think those expectations are fair anymore because of the caliber of the teams in the Worlds. And, on the women's side, there's, 2 or 3 teams that didn't make the playoffs that could easily contend had they got in. And even on the men's side, there's still, 7 or 8 teams as well. It's very deep. It's getting better. And it's only going to get better and tougher for Canadians to win world championships as we move forward.
Yeah. Well, even look at the Olympic trials now that they've got to go to do their last chance for the final in both the men's and women's. Those next 3 are just going to be scary. That Eve Muirhead's going to be there, and Korea and Japan.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just men's.
Those are all medal contending teams. Like, if they're fortunate enough to get through that second chance, they're going to be there at the end of the week at the Olympics. They're that good. And the comparison that I would use is probably in the men's side. Looking back at, I guess it was 2014. Ourselves, John Morris and Brad Jacobs were all fighting for the last 2 trial spots, and Brad and John ended up playing in the final. And it just that's kind of the same situation. And I think if we had gotten through, we would have been fighting for a playoff spot as well. It's just there's so much depth.
Yeah.
Not to add to the pressure, Brad, but no Canadian team has ever won a world mixed doubles title. How are you approaching this? I know how competitive you are. I know the fire that exists within you. You're wearing the Maple Leaf in an international curling event, and no team has ever won. But you are new to the game. You've also talked about that. I know you and Bella play, but this is the first international event you and Kerri are playing in. So,
and he played with his daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
I said international. Come on. How are you approaching this, Brad?
You know what? In my conversations with Kerri, even over the last couple hours, it really is for us going up and trying to enjoy it, have some fun, keep things loose. I think if we can kind of mimic what we did at the Nationals, I think we're going to be successful just based on our skill level. I think if we just don't put that huge amount of pressure on ourselves, we're going to be okay. That's easier said than done for sure. But I think with my experience, having been, to Nationals, Olympics, I kind of know those expectations. I think Kerri's coming off them, so she knows very fresh, and that experience is valuable. And Colleen can attest to it. And I've heard Chelsea on here talking about it. That first time is tough, and we had some issues at the Olympics when we went. Even though we had represented Canada at the World Juniors, we learned a ton from that experience that helped me when I went to my first Worlds in 2017. Right. But you need that first go around to really learn everything that happens.
Speaking though of that, Russ said something on the broadcast the other day about how when you guys won the Olympic trials spot to go to Sochi. Sochi knows. Yeah, it was Sochi.
Torino.
Yeah. Right. That you guys asked Kevin Martin for advice, and he said, get rest. But
we didn't listen too well, though. We ran ourselves crazy for that 2 months leading into it.
Right. But even when you look at the bubble and the fact that, sort of both Bottcher and Kerri playing in the Canadian mixed doubles, I'm sure they're thankful for that. And then Grand Slams, and for Kerri, she was in there forever. Do you think this experiment of the bubble, given the length of time when there's a world championship on the line, who has ever prepared for a Worlds in that way? So many events so close together, asking yourself to peak, because obviously Kerri won the Players just last week or the week before.
Yeah, it's a challenging situation, and I think I heard Russ say that today, and while I agree with him, I think it would be better to rest. You can't do that. Kerri, how do you miss a Grand Slam? Grand Slams are events that us as players, we love to play. We've got sponsors that have committed a substantial amount of money to help us get to the point where we can get to a world championship. And this is really the only opportunity where we can showcase them. So you can't turn that down. That is just not an option. And I can't ever imagine any team doing that. Right. I think this is just a one-off year where we try to get as many events in as possible. And it really was a battle of attrition, really. And I think you play that again, I think Kerri's right there at the end of the week. They won the Players' Championship just the week before, which, is arguably a tougher field. So it's just one of those weeks. And that's the problem right now with the depth in the world, is if you don't have a quality week, you could miss the playoffs, where if you go and play the way you're capable of playing, you can win a gold medal. So it's just that much variance right now with how good the teams are.
Well, I would take a quality field, Eddie. I'm really excited about where the growth in both the men's and women's is internationally. I think it's fabulous for the sport. So.
I agree. I think the days of going or expecting Canada to go and go 10-1, 11-1, whatever, and kind of cruise to a gold medal, those are gone. Not saying that's not going to happen, but it's going to take an exceptional week from one of these Canadian teams to pull that off. It's too tough.
Didn't you just do that kind of at your last World Men's?
That's 4 years ago now, though. Even in the last 4 years, it's gotten better. But I will also say that was one of those weeks where that's probably the best our team has ever played, and we've had a pretty incredible run over the last 7 or 8 years. And we talk about it as a team. That may be the best that we've ever played over the span of 7-8 days. I think that week it didn't matter who we were going to play; we were going to win. It was just everything was clicking.
I had a front row seat to it, and I appreciated the 6N specials to file early. So thank you for that, Brad. Look, well wishes, safe travels over there.
Thanks, guys.
If we're back on that curling show during the mixed doubles, we'll have you on.
Yeah.
Across the pond.
You got my number. Just reach out. I'm more than happy to do it. And thank you to you guys for doing this over the last couple months. I know curling fans really appreciate the little inside view that they're getting through you guys. And Devin, for your tweets over the last 5 days without TSN there. Thanks for that. That was needed. I know a lot of curling fans loved it, especially the Newfoundland fans. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thumbs. They're championship thumbs.
I have no idea how he texts that fast. That is insane. Like the news is out before the news actually happens. Like
actually, Brad, it happens all the time. I might have slow internet here in Nova Scotia. I'm not sure, but we'll be on the phone and he'll say, "Oh, they just scored 2." I'm going, "Dumb." That's how far behind I am, and he's ahead.
Keep going.
He's got the direct feed. That's the problem. So.
Thank you for that. Very kind, Brad. Thank you. Good luck. Safe travels. Thanks, Brad. Awesome. That's nice. Wow. That's
dumb. Olympic. You're Olympic dumb.
Let's go to one of my hometown heroes from Saskatoon. You know how much I love to talk about Saskatoon. And we're going to go to Amy Nixon now. Saskatoon in the house. There's Amy. How are you, Amy? Great to see you.
Great to see you too as well. Thanks for having me.
You do not age.
Oh, that's so kind of you, Colleen.
Wow. Listen, do you play at all anymore?
Wednesday night league before it got shut down with some folks from work and a friend from a board member of Alberta Curling, actually Curtis. So yeah, we had some fun until November.
Yeah, well, it was sad when everything's, I mean, obviously it had to shut down, but man, when you're an addict of the game, you really miss that playing. So
it's honestly, it's the Wednesday night beers that really keep me going. It's really nothing else.
That's good.
Amy, you were in the bubble a lot. You were scoring a lot of the games, weren't you?
I was on the periphery of the bubble because as a volunteer, you don't enter the bubble, but I got to observe it. Yeah, so I did score a number of games in each event.
What does that mean you're on the periphery of the bubble? Were you not in the building? Were you scoring from like a tent out back?
So you come into the building, Colleen, but you stay on the concourse and your space is quite isolated where you go. So I had some interaction with volunteers, but no interaction or proximity to anyone else. So, I mean, Shannon Clybrink, as you know, my former teammate, was doing all of the organization for booking volunteers, and it's hard to say no to Shannon Clybrink.
Well, I want to jump in there because it took a small army, Amy, to pull this off. So can you give us some insight on some of the people behind the scenes who were pulling this off?
Yeah, so I'm here today not as a representative of Curling Canada, but I am a board member of Curling Canada, and so I have a lot of pride and awe in the work that's been put into the event as a board member, but also as a curling fan. So tons of people have spent time in the bubble as staff members. Obviously, you had Al Cameron on last night. He's one of them, but there's a lot more as well. And just kudos to all of them for also sacrificing time from their families and their own space, because in a pandemic, it's not easy already. And then to be super isolated in the bubble environment, I can only imagine what that is.
Yeah, no kidding. Amy, we've been talking a lot about the pressure of the Maple Leaf, and you might have just heard what Brad was saying about that. But how was it for you, especially the first Olympics after you guys won to go to Torino as well? And obviously your two Scotties titles as well. Tell me a little bit about what you felt.
So the thing that I've observed out of Team Bottcher and Team Einarson is they have this wonderful opportunity to have played with the Maple Leaf on their back before they go to an Olympics, and we didn't. And so I have such empathy for the experience of wearing the Maple Leaf for the first time. And it's, I watched Chelsea also speak last night, and she really summarized that it's such an honor, and I don't think you'll find a player who's worn a Maple Leaf that won't look at it with some degree of gratitude and privilege and excitement. But there's the other side of it, which is I watched it in Kerri's team. It was the experience I think we had in Torino, Colleen, where you have to get to a place where you are representing Canada, but you just have to be yourselves. And the thing that really sits with me 15 years later is I remember the games we lost. I remember what sheet we were on. I remember all the things about it. Most people don't even know if I won a medal or what color it was. and that's at the end of the day, the players are living and dying on each of these moments more than the people at home. And it's so awesome that we have so many great curling fans in Canada and elsewhere in the world. But nobody should kid themselves that those 4 women and their support networks will remember this in ways that none of us ever will.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in because you mentioned the support networks. A lot of people have mentioned, Amy, that what Chelsea said last night. We cut that clip because I think it was really poignant. I think it was powerful. So let's watch that, then come back to you right out of that.
Yeah, so there is the addition of the extra people, the Curling Canada people, which I mean is great because you have extra resources, but you have to manage that because you're used to being able to be just your 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it is. If you have a 5th and a coach, depends, right? But so there's some management involved there. I think the biggest difference, and like I'd go back to my first Worlds and I was so excited. Like I'm living my dream. I'm so pumped. And yet between the Scotties and the Worlds is not a long time. And there's a lot of things to do. And this was even without the bubble. Like it was hard enough without the bubble. So I was doing all the stuff and we were managing it all. And like, we got to get sponsors and we got to get uniforms. We got to figure out all these different things and media and all the stuff. And I was struggling with it. But like, you're not supposed to say that it's hard. You're not supposed to say anything bad about being Team Canada because it's everyone's dream. And it was my dream too. And I never said anything bad about it. And then my dad called me at one point between the Scotties and the Worlds that year. And he said, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm great. You know, we're doing this, we're doing that. Like I gave him my media answer. And then there was this long pause. And then he said, how are you really doing?
Wow.
And I just started bawling. I just started crying because I was like, I'm overwhelmed. It's so hard. I'm having a hard time. And like, I wouldn't trade my Team Canada experiences for anything in the world, ever. I would never, ever give that up. But it's hard. And no one's allowed to say it's hard because you're Team Canada. And so then everyone else that wants to be Team Canada is going to go, well, screw you, it's hard. Like, let me do it instead. Okay, let's watch you do it. I'm telling you it's hard. It's going to be hard.
Wow. Did you ever feel some of that, Amy?
Yeah. I mean, when we went to the Worlds, I had a small child and I was working full time. So I just didn't even have time to eat, actually. And so Chelsea and I were in different spots and I, honestly wouldn't have even known that she was overwhelmed. So yeah, I did feel, I think the thing that really resonates with me is something Brad said tonight, which is if things start to go like a little bit off track and you don't feel the confidence, sometimes that can take you kind of teetering on the edge. And I remember being in Torino and we were on the edge and, I said, I don't want to be the first Canadian team not to win a medal at the Olympics. I don't want that to happen to us. And I remember a moment walking with Shannon in the arena and I said, Shannon, the men's hockey team didn't medal. And she said, what? And I said, so,
precious.
It's going to be okay. So there, you do have to gain perspective. And I think one of the things that is really beneficial about the end of my career is that I had other things in my life, like a kid and a career. And I'd gone through a lot of things wearing the maple leaf. And one of the best predictors of performance is having been there before. Again, just going back to if Brendan's team or Kerri's team wins to go to the Olympics in Beijing, this experience will inform that if they choose it. And I believe they will.
Yeah. There'll never be a tougher experience, I think, than playing in the pandemic with no crowd, with being able to hear toilets flush and everything else that was going on and in the middle of a pandemic. I think this is never going to be another pressure-filled event like this. Right?
I will say, though, that playing at the Olympics is a realization that everybody who cares about sports and the Olympics is watching you, whereas when I played in a world championship, curling fans were watching. So it's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because I know you follow the social media. You and I both follow it very closely. You're seeing the conversations happening. Does something need to change? And if so, what?
Well, I think what's really important is that Curling Canada continue to chat with these players and debrief with them after these events and really see if there's opportunities there to support them. I think one of the things that I've seen and I've heard from a number of people is you have all these teams at the Worlds that go year after year after year. So like a Nicholas Sedin, I don't know how many times he went before he won. And I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time. I'm not trying to take anything away, but there's a huge difference when you have never done it and you've gone 10 years in a row and played the same teams over and over and over again. So I do think that there's importance here in listening to the players and helping them debrief and helping them to have the experiences leading into the Olympic trials where they get to say what they really need. But I think Al Cameron said it very well last night. You can say it all you like, but until you're in it, you have to experience it to some extent, I think.
But why not just pretend the Players' Championship is a world championship or every Grand Slam? Because, you know, when you look at how many times Kerri has played Anna Hasselborg and Tirizoni, it's a lot. So it's not like the first time you showed up at the Olympics and you're seeing Annette Norberg or something, you know. So is there more mental? Is the idea of the world's just it's a mental thing more than anything? It's just still a curling game, same length of ice, same poundage of rocks.
I think the biggest challenge is the players themselves need to answer that for themselves. We don't know what's happening in their lives, in their teams, with their families. We don't know if somebody has a sick family member at home. Like, there's so many factors there. They're difficult to know unless you talk to Kerri and Val. Much has been made of Kerri being away from her girls, and that's very true. But Val's a mom too, and she's been away from her son. So, don't forget there are whole teams there.
Yeah. And I wasn't necessarily referring to this. I just mean going forward at Worlds and going forward with because let me just get a whiteboard, Amy.
Amy, this is the longest we've been into the show without a whiteboard. So this is a moment.
But when you look at, only two, here we are, 2010 when Germany, I think that was Andrea Schaaf won, then Sweden, Switzerland, Scotland, Switzerland, Canada, Switzerland. So I don't know, maybe we just have to reframe a discussion of some. I don't know where I'm going with that whole thought.
Can we just talk about Saskatoon for a second?
Sure.
Amy, it's going to be a heck of an event in our hometown.
Yeah, it is, and I'm really encouraged by early ticket sales. Have apparently been great, which is awesome news. And I don't know if I'll have a role as a Curling Canada board member. That'll be my last year on the board, but I fully intend to hit the road with some friends and show up for at least 1 or 2 days, Devin and Colleen.
Yeah,
running back to Saskatoon.
Yeah, well, just to be fair to the people from Regina, I did really grow up in Regina, but I'm born in Saskatoon, so I can be equally claimed as people wish.
Right. Good. I'm glad we set the record straight there. Awesome.
Well, Amy, the ageless Amy, so nice to see you and dropping in to talk with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I look forward to a wine or beer with each of you when we get the opportunity. It's been a while. Yeah.
Hopefully,
and thank you on behalf of all curling fans in Canada for all the work. Devin and I have been working hard in long meetings all week, and I've just been watching your Twitter feed on the side because I can't be watching games. So thank you both for the light you shine on curling, our beautiful sport in Canada. Thank you.
Oh, that's nice, Amy. Thank you.
Awesome to see you, Amy. Awesome.
Great,
Thank you. Take care.
I should have asked her skin product, because she's not aging.
Colleen.
She's not aging, Devin. All right.
We talk about that in our phone calls all the time. You're looking great. You really are. These last 2 shows, outstanding. Listen, this is a heck of a story. Germany. What adversity they face going into this Women's World Curling Championship. We learned the 2 positive cases. Extraordinary adversity going into it, like I said, and they persevered and they became such a story. I think so many Canadians, from what I've heard, really inspired by their effort.
Very much.
3 players, yeah.
If ever there was a time you would want fans in the stands, because the love of the fans would have been given Germany in this, playing with 3 and so strong. I mean, right until that final game against Switzerland, they were just right in the thick of things. They played amazingly well, and so we're super excited right now.
Bring her in, Daniela Jentsch, the skip for Team Germany. Thank you so much for making time. You heard us talking, but just an extraordinary performance, Daniela. You must be so proud. Let us know how you're feeling tonight.
And exhausted.
Yeah, exhausted as well. But you've had a chance to reflect. How are you feeling?
Well, I mean, we are exhausted. At least the sweepers are. I'm not actually because I don't sweep. I think I didn't help them enough. But yeah, I think we had a good week, and of course we're tired now just because of all the stress and all the games and just playing with the three of us. But as you said, yeah, we would have enjoyed some fans out there for sure. But I mean, playing well with three people and having the fans on our side would have been pretty awesome.
I mean, we've been talking about the grit that Canada showed coming back from a 1-5 start and making it, but you guys showed incredible grit. Tell me about the stress, obviously, you felt when two players tested positive, and then not knowing if you guys were going to be even in the event until the 11th hour.
Yeah, I mean, that was the toughest part. We knew things from like in the background, but we weren't allowed to talk about it because, of course, it's about humans, and we wanted to keep their names safe and not expose them already. And we didn't know if we actually would be allowed to play. So it was tough for us, the waiting game, the unknown, and then the hoping, and then again, disappointment. And it was like a huge roller coaster game. It's just crazy. So
how did you keep calm in all of that?
Oh, we didn't. We didn't keep calm. I think I was the furthest away from calm I could be. But I mean, as soon as we knew we were allowed to play, we just, I think we just performed, and we can be really proud of ourselves.
Right. But I mean, how did you park that?
Well, I mean, as soon as the competition starts, you have to forget about it. And it's still, I mean, the girls mean so much to us. It's tough, but I mean, we do it for us. We do it for them. Yeah, I mean, it's just something you learn over the years that you can't let this affect you.
Well, how are they doing, Daniela, if you can give us an update?
Well, I mean, I think physically it's okay, but mentally it's very tough for them. I mean, they're still in the other hotel; they can't see us, and it's just been very exhausting for them mentally. Because I mean, if you're tested positive at home, you're at least at home with your family in your own place. But just being in a different country in a hotel room, and it's just you lose track of time and day. It's just it's sad for them.
Yeah, it's a heartbreak. I mean, we certainly hope. When you all leave to go back?
We're leaving on Monday because they're not cleared to fly out for Monday. So we decided we all stay here and then we go back as a team.
Oh, that is so nice to do that as a team. We were talking about how hard this next chapter as you try to get your Olympic berth now, because it's sort of what an event that's going to be. Tell me how hard is that, and what kind of a dream you have for that, especially after the great play you had here.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part, I think, is getting through the season. We don't really know if there will be any events, if we get the chance to prepare properly. So for now, all we can do is practice and plan everything until that event as well as possible. And then, I mean, the pressure of an Olympic qualifier is unreal. I mean, you get chance, which sounds so positive, but also you can lose it all in this one event. So it's pretty emotional too. And I mean, I've had this in 2017 and it was hell. So I just hope this time will be better.
Wow. Daniela, so many Canadian curling fans have been rallying around your team. We've seen, I think they provided baking and gifts and everything. Can you tell us about that?
That's absolutely amazing. I mean, if we don't have to lose two players to get that, it would be really good. I'm certainly hoping that next time we will still receive presents, although we're 5 people playing.
Wow. What a journey. What a journey for you guys. What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself and about your team?
I think we just showed that we can, even if it's as difficult as this can be, we can still perform very well, and we can just focus on the things that we can control. And I mean, it's just something we will never forget, also in a negative way, but also in a positive way. So, I mean, it's just incredible.
Did you buy your sister a Heineken or 2 after all that sweeping she did? How tough was this on her?
Yeah, I felt really bad. I mean, I was trying to throw it as close to possible, but I mean, it's just
She swept every rock.
everything. I mean, it's just something we practice a lot too. But I mean, I felt really bad for her, but she did such an amazing job, and I'm just so proud of her. And I mean, yeah, I think we had 1 or 2 drinks last night that I didn't pour because they don't trust me with that. But I mean, yeah, she deserves a good rest now. For sure.
Not only did you have 3 players out there, but you had to play this bizarre 12-end game. I think we have a photo of it, Daniela. Look at this. The award for the most stones swept by one sweeper in a world championship. I mean, 12 ends and you get the win, but what a bizarre event and a bizarre game.
Yeah, I think we tried to take it all in. I mean, we play as much as we can, and I mean, I think we did, and we enjoyed it. And I've never, I think I played once. I played 2 extra ends, but that was in years, and this happens a lot more then. But I mean, I've never had it in the women's, so it was fun.
Yeah. Well, listen, you guys were an amazing story through the entire week, and we sure wish we were there to have watched it live, but we were watching it through the World Wide Web. So we enjoyed it, and you guys did amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Daniela. And we'll be following this team, of course, in the Olympic qualifier in December. We don't know the location yet, but we'll be following you guys closely. And we are wishing you safe travels, of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you, Daniela.
That is going to be quite the in both the men's and women's.
No kidding. So listen, while we were talking, I got to interject. Brendan Bottcher texted me. So you might have seen me a little distracted. We were going to have him earlier in the show, but he joins us now to close our second last show, Colleen.
He could be the big finish. How are you?
My apologies.
I mean, what were you doing in a lockdown?
To be honest, I was cooking supper and I was waiting for my alarm to go off, and it just doesn't help you that much when your phone's on mute. So.
Dinner?
Devin could talk about my phone. Either I can't find it or it's on mute. The other thing I do when I set alarms, I always put it from the wrong AM or PM. So, hey.
I do that as well, yes.
Must be a skip thing.
Could be a skip thing. Could be.
Other things to focus on.
Yeah. Okay, we're so excited to have you because we didn't have you at the end of the men's worlds, and we really wanted to touch base and debrief with you about how you're doing and what you learned from that experience.
So I think we're all doing great. I mean, it was a whirlwind of an experience. It feels like you're Team Canada for a month. And for us, that whole month was down in the bubble in Calgary, which had its intricacies as well. But I was really proud of the guys. I thought we battled really hard. We showed a lot of grit. I was proud of a lot of things out there. I'm always left. I've been to a few of these kind of events now, and it always feels like the second the event's over, if you could just start from day one tomorrow. You know, those couple little tidbits you would have learned along the way might have made all the difference.
Brendan, I just got goosebumps, and I saw the way Colleen just reacted just now because we had a phone call about that exact thing. I called her after Kerri started 1 and 5, and Colleen said to me, I've been in this situation before, and I wish I could just go back to the beginning and restart. And to hear you say that is pretty wild.
Yeah. What were the things, though, that you take from this and go forward? Because, you know, you said you're Team Canada for a month. In fact, you're Team Canada for quite a long time. Back in the Brier next year, for example. But there's just so much. Next year is such an important year, and hopefully everything's back to normal by the fall. But what do you take from this heading into next year in the Olympic trials? I mean, there's so much to learn, especially we were just talking to Daniela about her, the COVID situation for them. For you guys, it was Darren and the back. These things you'd never put into your training plan of things that can go wrong, that can disrupt the flow. But so what were the big takeaways for you that you apply as you go forward?
Well, I suppose first on the positive side, I mean, we broke through this year in the sense that we closed off a really good week. We won that last big game. And when we're looking forward to an event like the trials, I think the experience we can take from that and draw, hopefully, in that event will be important. I mean, just knowing what it feels like to win at the end at some of the biggest events out there. I would go on, I think we learned quite a bit. Your team gets quite a bit bigger when you get to a world championship. There's lots of other voices, other people. I think as a group, we played quite a few years without a coach or an alternate. We went to a couple Briars, just the four of us. So we're pretty tight as a group. And I think just adding in all the extra people was just something we weren't as familiar with maybe as some of the other top teams. So that took a little bit of getting used to. And otherwise, you're playing, you're going into a world championship, super excited, but also a little uneasy about what's going to, come in front of you. And all the other teams that are there are very comfortable in that environment. They've been there many times before. They've been on the podium, many of them. And their Super Bowl game is often the game against Canada. And you get everyone's absolute best the whole week. So I think just wrapping your head around that, and on top of that, all the expectations. I mean, we were obviously trying to qualify Canada for the Olympics as well, and that was a lot of pressure for us, as I'm sure it was for Kerri. But it's just a unique experience, and I think it's hard to really put your finger on all the small differences until you get through the week and just try and reflect on, how it went.
We're hearing a bit of a recurring theme here of this added entourage, added staff.
It's been all week. We've sort of heard bits of this.
Right.
But I used to feel it when we would go to the Worlds, because suddenly with the extra people, you're like, well, we can't all go in the van together. Obviously, in a COVID situation, it's even different. But or even eating, it's hard to go out and eat at a table that large. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're used to just all year long being 4 or 5 people. So that's something.
Even when you're talking about debriefing a curling game. So I was actually really thankful and proud. I mean, the people we brought with us were the absolute best. I mean, we had brought Don Bartlett as our coach, and we have some history with him, but he brings a lot of experience. And then, Jeff Stoughton came with us with a ton of experience himself. Mm-hmm. And then Mark Kennedy was in the fold with maybe the most experience of all of us together. Yeah. I mean, you're sitting there debriefing a game, and it's hard not to give airtime to everyone in the room, because everyone just has an opinion, and everyone kind of deserves to be heard in that moment. And just all those little things, I think some of the international countries are, they're much more used to having the federation involved and having other people make decisions for them. Where in Canada, it's very hands-off until you win. And then when you win, it's very hands-on. And I think that's just the transition that a few of us have to go through the first time before we really understand.
Or should that change?
Well, it's hard. I mean, there's too much on the line for Curling Canada to not be involved. I mean, they've got a ton between funding and Olympic qualification. And really, once you're Team Canada, those are the teams they should be supporting. And it's tough for them at the front end. There's so many of us in the hunt that how could they be that involved with all of us?
Right. Yeah. And that's a good problem to have, that there's so many in the hunt, that there's, 4 or 5 men's teams in Canada that could easily go win Olympic gold. So, I mean, it's a nice problem. And in Canada, forever, the skip is sort of the coach and decision maker on this team sort of man. You work in a foursome and you're used to bouncing the ideas off, but in some ways, more than most people on the planet now. And
that's something I'm super proud that we battled through, and it was a successful week for us. I think I personally learned a ton, and I was proud that we got here as early as we did. I'm certainly not hoping this is the last time I get to put the maple leaf on my back, and the next time I do, I'll be able to reflect on this a little bit, and hopefully I'll start off just at a little more awareness of what's going to come.
Oh, well, for the record, you're the future. So yeah, you ain't going away, just so you know. You just get better and better and better. And it's so impressive, this whole Bottcher train thing you're going.
Well, and just to that point, I think you now have some quantifiable proof, Brendan, that you guys have learned and you guys have progressed. You like you said, you have that breakthrough. I'd be interested to know, because I've heard you say a couple of times now, you're here a little earlier than you thought. So walk us through that mapped out plan. Does that mean that the plan is to get to the 2022 Olympics? Is that the timeline?
For sure. I mean, that was always when you sit down and talk about goals as a team, that's usually where you start, and then you try and work backwards.
Right.
Our team would be in the same boat. I was really hoping we were going to get a Brier win or some other really big game win under our belt going into the trials, because I know the trials is just the pressure that everyone feels there is amplified even to the playoffs of the Brier, I think. So I think we needed that as a group. And in my progression, I'm just proud that I got here as young as I did. I think that's a huge accomplishment, and I'm super proud of myself. I'm proud of the guys. And I really want us to take this as a stepping stone, learn what we need to learn from it, be so thankful that we got to play in a year that so many other people didn't have the opportunity to play. And hopefully we'll be back here in the future. I mean, that's all we can focus on.
You guys are so tight as a team too. And when you look at the other teams and the way they build and stay together for so long, it's amazing when you think where you might be in next year or 4 years down the road, et cetera. So it's awesome what you've built there. It's really great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty special. I'm like I say, I'm pretty proud of the guys. We've all kind of went our own ways. After 9 weeks in the bubble, I think we all just needed some downtime.
Yeah.
But pretty soon here, it's going to be, getting back to meetings, try and schedule into next season as much as we can, figure out the plan. And hopefully that plan involves us, either doing well at the trials or doing well at the Brier again next year.
Outstanding. Well, we're going to all take a break. We're going to all take a breather, Brendan.
But wait, what did you cook for supper? What was for supper? What did you make? We need some lockdown recipes here. What were you cooking? Something exciting?
Well, I'm out in Alberta, so the dinner of choice was steak and potatoes today.
Shocker.
That sounds good. That sounds lovely.
Awesome.
Right.
You guys are welcome.
You're all doing well. Your family's all doing well there, because these are tough times for Canadians. And I know curling's been a lovely diversion for the fans and everybody else. But the reality of still what's going on in Canada is still pretty frightening. So we hope you're all well.
Yeah, all's well. I hope with you guys as well. I hope we're back to doing these interviews in person here into next season.
Yeah.
And I both say hi to Bobby for us. It's good to see you, Brendan. Take care.
Yeah.
You didn't get to eat. Get back to that steak and potatoes.
Excellent. Have a great night.
Thank you.
He probably had a glass of wine, and then he came down.
No, the wine's coming yet.
See you, Brendan. Awesome.
Have a good night.
Oh, that was really nice to catch up with him, because I felt that after the Worlds we were missing his voice.
Yeah.
So good to hear from him. I mean, what a great future that team has, and for so long. I mean, not that Brad Gushue is going anywhere, or Brad Jacobs, or Kevin Cooey, but Bottcher coming in the mix, and Dunstone, and who's the other big? Pat Simmons. Remember when we had Pat Simmons on the show?
I tweeted. Did I tweet about it, or did I dream about tweeting about it?
And I said, why aren't you still curling?
No, I think you specifically asked if he was going to come out of retirement, and he said, no way.
He said, no way. And there He's back.
He's back, Pat.
Wow. Oh,
That's
he's dangerous. He's dangerous.
You know what I appreciate about the show tonight is obviously, listen, two things can be true at the same time. Kerri had a great comeback to clinch that Olympic berth, but there is disappointment both after the men's and women's World Curling Championship. It's the first time out of those two championships Canada hasn't medaled. So yes, there's a little bit of disappointment, but then tonight we have the two skips from those two Canadian teams come on here.
They're proud, yeah.
And they're proud. And I think that's so important for Canadian curling fans to hear from them, to give us that insight, Colleen, where they are. I love it. I think it's outstanding. Yeah.
And I also think, you know, when I didn't win some worlds, you kind of, there was no way for you to be able to say to people,
right,
we did our best, we fought hard, and I think for curling fans, when they hear that, they go, well, that's all you can do,
right?
Really, that's all you can do is play as well as you can and go out there and fight as much as you can, and that's what you do, and that's what every Team Canada's done. But now with that curling show, we hear it more. It's awesome.
And I will never forget your 6 Scotties championships and your 2 world titles, Colleen.
2 world titles. Do you know, I wish when I was playing it was the 6th that got in for the playoffs, because then we wouldn't say she never made the playoffs. No, darn it.
You wouldn't have got those.
Just the top 4.
You wouldn't have gotten those handwritten letters, hate mail.
No, and I wouldn't have. No, but I'm telling you, character is built on your losses. It makes you so much tougher, because I think if there's one thing a lot of champions share, it's this hatred of losing and the determination to figure out where you went wrong and to make sure you don't keep making those same mistakes over and over again.
Wow,
in your preparation, your mental toughness, your strategy, your slide, all kinds of little things. You start recognizing where you have to get better, and then you do, and then you're tough to beat.
You know, one thing as a journalist, what I admire about all of this that I sometimes lose sight of, and that I think a lot of fans lose sight of, is that this is such a vulnerable undertaking when you're representing Canada in a sport like curling and going out there and giving it everything you have. There's 4 of you, and there's hundreds of thousands of people watching, and there's nowhere to hide. And even just stepping on the ice and going into battle like that is a vulnerable thing, and I think it needs to be commended.
Well, trust me, we love it. So don't. And you live for the big games. You live to play on that championship ice. So that's in your DNA.
Speaking of a championship, we're going to listen. This is our second last show. We've got a final show tomorrow on Mother's Day to set up the Women's World Curling Championship. I'm excited about it. And we know that Switzerland is into the final. We'll know what team is joining them later today. We have Sweden and RCF. What a game that's going to be.
Oh, it's a real, I'll tell you, that could be a gold medal game right there. You know, that's the thing about these. The teams that are left, I mean, any one of them deserves to win the championship. So tonight's matchup's definitely gold medal material.
All right, and we'll set up that gold medal game. We're on the air tomorrow with that curling show at 2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. I'm going to set my alarm. I hope I don't put it on mute.
And also make sure that it's on Nova Scotia time or Eastern time, whatever you.
Whatever.
I'll call you.
I get confused about that. Let's not go there. Anyhow,
we're done. We're done. The championship game is at 3 p.m. Eastern. We're on the air at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be celebrating mothers around the world, including my mother, who always reminds us to keep the house clean.
Nice. All right. Good night. See you tomorrow. Thanks, Soph.
Thanks, guys.